We are now on patch 14.15, and here's all the best comps in this patch if you want to climb the ladder. And we are starting out by the absolute most dominating comp in the meta, Syndra and Vanguard. There's no way around it. It have the best average placement, it have the highest pick rate in the highest elo, and does also have the best win rate. So if you're not playing this comp and you want to climb the ladder, you should definitely learn it. It is a classic reroll comp where you want to have Syndra to 3-star. You do also want to have Mordekaiser to 3-star as well. And are you ending up getting Galio and Rumble to 3-star as well? You can do that as well. So what we are playing is 4 Vanguards, which will be sitting in the front line. We do also have Vex, since it gives us Chrono, and it also gives us Mages. And else in the backline, we are just playing the Duo plus Nami. And Nami is just the perfect fit for this comp, since it gives us AoE, CC. It does also provide us with 2 traits. She's a great holder for Murillo, and also a great holder for Static Shift. But before we're putting items on Nami, we want to have items on Syndra. And Syndra's best item is Rageblade plus Sojourn. And then you have to put in a third item. It could be Gnash Tooth. It could also be something like a red buff if you're not playing Amarillo on Nami. It could also be a dual gauntlet. Just any other attack speed or AP items. Next on the list is Mordekaiser, and he wants tank items. Right now, a lot of players are playing Syndra, and that means something like Dragon's Claw is really good. But else, every other tank items are good for him. From here, you will just start slamming other tank items or items for Nami. Do we get Galio to 3-star as well? We will put tank items on him as well. But else, start prioritizing items on Nami. Remember, if you have a Rageblade, Syndra is scaling up through the fight. And that means more CC or stronger frontline will benefit Syndra quite well. When it comes to augments, something like Heroic Grabback is really good, since you can get her to 3-star faster. Shield Up is also good, since it's a specific one for Vanguards. And you can also go for something like Spill Blades, since it are benefiting Syndra quite well. The playstyle is just to get level 6 at 3-2. Do a roll down so you have at least a Syndra for 2-star. If you have a strong enough front line as well, so getting some of the units to 2-star is really good. And then you're just playing this board if you can. But if it's not possible to get a 4-cost unit, what you could do is to get another Vanguard unit instead of Vex, since Vex doesn't really provide that much right now, only if you're getting a Mage unit. So you can take her out and put in another Vanguard unit. Another great thing you could do is to play for the Golem, and that means you have to put something in like Neela, and this will be a quite good board until you are hitting Syndra to 3-star or have to go to level 7. If you're contested, you have to make sure that others are not getting Syndra to 3-star before you. So you might want to consider being a little more aggressive on your roll down. Another thing you could do is to go to level 7 and play the board that we saw before. And then see if we can have the combination of 4 Vanguards and some of the other traits active at the same time. And then let the other players die out. Syndra to 2-star is really strong as well, so it can be an easy carry for you most of the game. But are you getting low on health, you kind of have to do a roll down all the way down if you're really close to getting her to 3-star, or you have to level up to stabilize your board. Are you getting to level 9, you want to put in one of these 2 5-cost units, since they are probably the best fit for this comp. You can obviously put Yuumi and attach it to Mordekaiser, but else playing one of these 2 units. Another strong comp is Multistriker Kassadin. And this comp is a little bit similar to the first one, since it is a reroll comp. So what we're doing here is playing it in similar style. At stage 3-2, we want to get to level 6. And what we're going to do is to roll down and hit Kassadin to 2-star. We're obviously not going to play these 2 units, since we're probably not hitting them at 3-2 or level 6. But this is the board that you want to play. So this is the board that you want to play at level 6. Do a roll down and hit this board and have Kassadin to 2-star if possible. This means you will be playing 5 Multistrikers, and a Kassadin to 2-star with similar items as these will be able to carry most of the game. If you're contested by 1 player, it is possible to play the comp, but if you're contested by more than 1 player, I will heavily consider playing something else or start pushing levels instead of going for the 3-star. We are more or less just playing around Multistrikers, and that means an emblem is really good, since it means when we get to level 7, we can put in Kalista and play 7 in Multistrikers without hitting Camille. But as I said before, get to level 6, get Kassadin to 3-star, and then put items on these units. Kassadin wants Rageblade, Bloodthirster, And one last item, that could be something like QSS. It could also be something like Titans. And it could also be something like Archangel. QSS if you are scared of getting CC'd, even more scaling with Archangel, and just overall a little bit stronger, a little bit more attack speed if you're putting in Titans. Hecarim wants these kind of bruiser items, and if you're ending up getting him to 2-star, and the same with Camille at some point, you could transfer the items over. Other things you could consider is to put in something like Sunfire Cape to give some anti-heal. You could also go for something like Redemption to keep the other units alive. As soon as you get in Kassadin to 3-star, you want to push levels, put in Kalista, give him these items. The best items are Rageblade and Last Whisper, but that is more or less it. Are you getting to level 9? You want to put in something like Seraph to get one more trait active, and that means you're getting this item that you would put on Hecarim. When it comes to augments, you want to put in something like Press the Attack, since it is a specific one for multicasters. And again, getting an emblem is really good, so we will put that on Shen. And then Heroic Grabback is also good, since we're getting these lesser champion duplicators, which is good if you want to hit a Kassadin to 3-star early. Next up, we have Chinese Reroll Wukong. And this comp does look a little bit like the first comp, since we are seeing a 3-star Syndra. But be aware that Syndra to 3-star doesn't have to be the main carry at all. Actually, most of the time, Karma is the real carry. So what we're doing here is getting to level 6 at 3-2 as normal, and we do a roll down. We want to hit most of these units to 2-star, obviously not Morgana and Rakan, and also not Karma, since it's a bit early, but these units plus something extra as the front line. You could also decide to play something like Kassadin and then put the items over for Karma later, and then your board would be like this. As soon as you've been stabilizing at 3-2, then you're just gonna push levels with the gold you have, and when you get to level 7, you will start doing the reroll. And as soon as we're hitting Karma, we can put the items over from Kassadin, putting Karma in, and the same thing goes with Rakan, where we have been holding the items on someone else. Usually we don't have that many items we can transfer over, since most of the tank items is going for Wukong. When we hit the point where Wukong is close to level 3, we do a roll down so we can hit the 3-star and push levels once again. When it comes to items, what we're going to prioritize is items for Karma and Wukong. You could also easily slam items for Syndra, since it is your carry in the early game, but be aware that Karma and Wukong is probably gonna be your main carries later in the game, especially because you are heavily consistent on Syndra. When it comes to Wukong's items, what you could do is to play 2 of these Stone Blades. You could also play 1 Dragon's Claw. You could also put a Preserver emblem on him, and you could also put something like a Bloodthirster if you're getting the specific augment for Wukong. Else, something like Pandora's is really good, since we do need specific items. And we do also play around Preservers, so a specific augment for that is also really good. Things you really want to prioritize is blue buff plus something like Morello or red buff, Wukong's tank items, and then you can prioritize the others. Are we getting to level 9? We want to play either Nasus, Camille, or the duo with Yuumi. Next up we have Reroll Kog'Maw, and this is once again a reroll comp for 2-cost units. This is just the meta, and we're probably gonna see something completely different next patch, but for now, this is what we have to play if we want to climb the ladder. If you haven't already seen the other comps, go to level 6 at 3-2, do a roll down to stabilize most of your board. That means you can actually play this full board and see if you can hitting some 2-cost units. These guys is the most important, but you could easily also go for Rumble. When you have been stabilizing, get up to 50 gold again and use all gold above 50 to roll down and see if you can hit these units. Meanwhile you do that, you want to put on items for your units. What you're prioritizing first is Kog'Maw, then Nunu, then Tristana, and then Rumble. I would argue if you're getting at least 2 of these 4 units to 3-star, then you can start push levels and avoid losing too much health. If you're really close to hitting the 2 others, you could also roll a little bit extra or stay level 6 and do that, or else get level 7 and push in one of these 2 units. I would recommend to put in Jinx, but if you can, Veigar is your other option. When you get to level 8, have both of them in, and if you get to level 9, you can take out Veigar and put in something like Taric and Diana together, Mordekaiser and some Kench. And in the worst case, but still fine, you can just play Veigar and then you have been keeping something like 6 from the early game. So these two guys, these two, or these two, with a prioritize on the top first, second, and third. When it comes to augments, you're obviously just gonna go for a specific one. Grab back to getting more units faster, and Feathers is also good since it is boosting most of our units. Oh yeah, and tank items, it can be whatever. Remember, the patch is more or less about magic damage, and when it comes to Kog'Maw, these items is really good since we do want to cast a lot and we do also want to crit with our spell. Tristana is just all about getting attack speed and crit on spells, but that is more or less it. The last comp we're gonna look at is Preserver, Kalista, and Fiora. This comp is a fast 8, and that basically just means that you don't want to use too much gold on rerolling. You want to be as high on health and gold as possible, and then when you get to stage 4-2, you want to go level 8 and do a roll down to hitting most of these units. This is obviously the board that you are playing at level 9, but before that we can take one out of these 3 units and play this board if possible with one of these units. But before we're hitting these units, what we're gonna try to hit is some of these units with whatever that fits the board. The prioritize is Kalista, Fiora, then Nasus, and then Rakan. If you're getting one of these 2 units to 2-star before the other one, then you can switch it around. In the early game, you want to build up around Fiora's items and Kalista's items, and what you can do is to play around these units in the early game, meaning attack speed items will go on the back line and bruiser items will go on the front line. And from here you can just add in something like a Jax. You could also play something like Kassadin, especially if you're getting him to 2-star, then you can transfer the items over. But these units is really good to play around in the early game. Hecarim and Shen is also a good option to play. So these units to 1 or 2-star is really good combination if you want to transfer into this comp. We kinda do need specific items, and that is why something like Pandora's and You Have My Bow is quite good options. New Recruit is always great as well, since we can stay level 8 and play the full board. If you could use this tier list, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thanks for watching and good luck on climbing.